Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. You are about to join a frequency that will open your mind, expand your heart, and activate your spirit. Thank you for joining Kelly Meehan, Spirit Baby Medium and Master Energy Therapist. Kelly believes in the power of the Spirit Baby. She speaks with babies in spirit before life, in the womb, and after life. She supports, teaches, and guides others to tune into the intuitive and mystical parts of life for greater wisdom. Join her in meeting your soul baby and build your connection and relationship with deep love and trust. Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio with your host, Spirit Baby Medium, Kelly.
Welcome to episode 105, January 22nd, 2021. Mediumship Therapy with Kelly. Spirit Baby Communication Before Life and After Life. What is mediumship therapy? How can you fully listen, allow, and step into the unknown to make it known? Are you unsure or fearful or in excitement? What will serve you to discover your inner source of communication with spirit? We are now getting deeper, not that deep, into the 2021 energies, right, as I spoke about them in the last podcast opening into the new year. And yes, it's been a highly political month in the United States of America. And today is big days of presidential stuff happening. Or I shouldn't even say today, it's to say this whole week, maybe this whole month, maybe it's our whole lifetime. So much happening, and it really affects and impacts a lot of people because, as we know, people are collectively very powerful. We're not just thinking people. We're action-oriented people. We have synergistic energies around us. We have current life, past life. We have a lot of energy. There's even darker energies, lighter energies, and we're all kind of working in different ways to see what our part is to kind of unravel and unfold. And as always, in this 2021 big new changes that are continuing to come, I want to continue to inspire you on your Spirit Baby communication instincts. I want you to question life. I want you to trust your spiritual and psychic space of conversations. I want you to welcome the unseen with credibility and yet again, even more trust. And I want you to welcome it all. And that's the big piece, right? How can you continue to welcome where you're at on your journey, what comes next, whether you're in conception, whether you're in pregnancy or in healing birth loss towards conception or just healing birth loss. You can be anywhere on that spectrum of energy and Spirit Baby communication, your child of spirit, your child of light, baby being. There's connection. There's something happening. And I can't say that enough. That is like so important, that there is big things, in motion. Whether you are hypersensitive to the connection of it or whether you are completely shut down and unaware. I feel like all parties are welcome, all levels of consciousness are welcome, but I do know if you are tuning in to Spirit Baby Radio, and maybe you've even listened to past episodes, that there's something more to who you are on a conscious level. You're not just zipping by, pretending that nothing exists and just kind of one foot in front of the other and overly enchanted by the solidness and matter of the world, because as we know, on the most deepest form is energy in mass and matter into the cells. And I can't help but, talk about just offering Sacred Embryo Communication Begins the Deeper Journey 8-week series, and we're in week 2. And week 2 is all about quantum fertility. And so we're learning about a little bit of quantum physics and mysticism, like what does that really mean and how to put that really into deeper levels of embodiment action, I would say. And such powerful times to conceive. And I don't want to brag, but I'm seeing so many women right now that are pregnant in ways that they were working really hard on it. They're not just pretending to show up. They're fully showing up, and they're questioning, and they're going deeper, and they're digging around into different parts of themselves to see what that next step is, what it looks like, what is to be of service to being a mother, a parent, to baby child in your life, to create a family, either on a solo journey or in a coupled connection. And of course, as I always say, there's so many working parts. right? There's not just one working part. And what I mean is that, I do see a lot of women that say, well, I'm doing acupuncture, and that's great. And that is just one working part, right? That's just one working part. But what about all the other pieces? How are they moving together, and how are they working with each other? I just feel like it's like a wheel of energy, just kind of different things kind of coming and going and implementing. And as your consciousness changes, your connection to what serves you will even change as well. And so wherever you are on your journey, I always say it's in complete alignment. And if it feels like it's off alignment, get back into alignment. And as I said with this title, Mediumship Therapy, I have to laugh a little because I was waking up this morning and that came to me. I was like, oh, mediumship therapy. What do you even mean by that, Kelly? And how does that translate over? And I wrote a few words here, and I thought, there's so much more to this translation, but I feel like it's using the skill and sensory awareness of connection with your loved one. We can say after death, or we can say after your child's death. It involves a multi-level experience of using the body and mind as a valuable tool towards true communication with spirit. And of course, there's more to that. I'm like reading that going, okay, there was more words that wanted to come, but I felt very inspired to create more energy around your inner medium, your inner mediumistic abilities, as I do feel like they're very valuable. And so as I would define medium therapy, is teaching somebody, mentoring somebody to do some deeper self-work, to look into their psychic constructs, to then be open to be able to receive information and insight. And using your imagination, as we know, is the most powerful thing ever. Because imagination isn't just some fantasy or thoughts you're creating. This is how other beings, other spiritual connections with baby energy, with death, will share symbols, signs, messages to you, whether in conception or whether healing, and trying to understand your connection after loss. And so the medium therapeutic part to that is you're actually going there, you're inviting it, you're changing your vibration so you can be more present with it, and it doesn't go away. You're allowed to continue to expand in your awareness. And I've seen this with so many people, whether they've had substantial deaths in their life of loved ones and friends, or, other levels of early losses and death within miscarriage and termination, to understand what it means to have grief, what it means to have a heart that feels so cracked open and it feels unrepairable. There's so much energy in that, right? And so that mediumship kind of therapeutic space is really an invitation of allowing yourself to go there. And I feel like I've created some work around that called grief mentorship in my work, which you can see on my service page if you're curious about. I do feel like it's not for everybody. I do feel like it's people that I've connected with that have a high kind of awareness of what it means to connect with the spirit world. But it's, it's still very powerful to do that inner work of grief awareness, ritualistic awareness, ceremony, and then mediumship. And really, what really inspired me to even talk about this conversation in this time, because I talk about, in mediumship, it's about listening, allowing, and really stepping into the unknown for the known, right? Because we always talk about the unknown. We live in a world right now, right? 2021, it is so unknown. It always has been. But with the pandemic, that literally felt like it inside outed our global kind of consciousness. It brings us to the unknown is okay. We live in unknowns all the time. And we really don't have every single answer, right? And we don't need to. And maybe it's fearful. Maybe there's excitement in that. I feel like we have to laugh, and there has to be some connection of excitement, right? And then how are you serving that connection of mediumship? And that's a whole other piece. And this is why I tell people go out and practice, read some books, join some programs, some series that will connect you with how your own inner source and that connection to who you are is in strong communication. You are a satellite, you are a radio, and you're communicating between worlds. And to create more connection with that is really great when you can do that in an environment with others. others in a way where it is, you're all doing the work. It's collaborative, but there's work to be done. There's always work to be done. Welcome to Earth, the Earth School, right? What are we doing here in these bodies that ache and cry and have all these feelings? And then there's other perceptions. What are we doing with all these perceptions? The empaths, the clairvoyants, the galactic, sensory people. I'm sure there's a huge list that I'm missing out on here of all these different perceptions and self-awarenesses that get to be free-spirited and always in motion and always with fluidity and always with discovery. I like that, discovery. And so my biggest, as I was saying, piece to what really inspired me to have this conversation is there's this docuseries that came out on Netflix called Surviving Death. And there's different parts about near-death experience, mediumship, seeing the dead, signs from the dead, and reincarnation. I believe, there's 6 episodes, and very easy to binge watch. It depends on what you're interested in. And I have to say, I was really surprised. I'm really I've heard of near-death experiences because I've been in the metaphysical world for a very long time. And now I feel like it's more of the new world of thinking. It's interesting we have to put these in tiny little pods of different belief systems. But I feel like, I've always been curious about a lot of different things. When I was younger, I had experience in a cemetery. I was like, okay, and I was excited by haunted houses because I was experimenting morgues. I know it sounds strange. I was experimenting with being an empath and being able to feel and see and know things, but I didn't know at 15. What do you do with that? I didn't. Back in my time and where I lived, there was not a lot of information about that, as there is nowadays. And so near-death experiences, I've always, known different people that have studied it and really, big people. And then I was like, oh, yeah, that makes me curious. And then when I saw this documentary, I was like, oh, my gosh, that looks amazing, incredible. And I was very highly, highly curious about what happens when you come back to life after death. Why is it that these thousands and thousands and thousands of people not only have very similar experiences, also have very factual experiences that they couldn't have known when they were dead? And when they come back and they're reborn, right, rebirthed into this world, they have a very hard time functioning. And a lot of people have higher levels of perception. They don't understand their families. They can't get along, and they're just trying to figure it out. And I was so enchanted by that. It really brought me to this level, what is that? Because being someone that I feel like has always had extrasensory perceptions, and they have developed even more over the less than this past year. There's new abilities that I haven't had before. But I didn't have to die to get there, right? And I laugh only because I was thinking, have I ever died before? I mean, I did have this horrific accident as a kid, and I was like, that came to my mind for some reason when I watched this documentary. But then I'm like, wow, when I was a kid, I found myself having a lot of accidents and falling on my head a lot quite often. And then I wonder, did that wake me up to these different abilities? I don't know. What does that mean? So healthy to be in curiosity, because there may all these pieces that may never get answers, right? And that's the thing that we want to fight so much about death. Give me the answer, give me the answer. Or maybe there is no need for an answer. Or maybe the answer has come to you, right? It's come to us, and we're not happy with that answer. And so I would definitely highly recommend watching these series for all people. This could be a good series even for schools, for, teenagers and people that are just to show them. Because the nice thing is it's not telling you to believe one thing or another. It's just showing you the experience of people, and very left brain, very scientific people really questioning a lot, but having experiences that can't be denied. They have to be received, and they have value, and they mean something. To die and come back is not meaningless. That's profound and powerful. Do you have to die to come back and have profound and meaningful experiences in life? No. But for those people, there is a reason why, right? There is something in that for them to then, move in between these worlds and be a part of our world, and really talk more to us, right, that haven't had near-death experiences, what that's all about, how to build connection and awareness with that. And so I know a lot of people really like in this documentary the mediumship part. I think it's part 1 and 2. And I liked it, but I see that all the time. And there was somebody I knew that was in it, Phil Dykes, who's very well known through We Don't Die Radio, connected to their own church or some type of spiritualist church. And I worked with his partner more one-on-one, and so I know they're good people. They're good people, good energy. They have very valuable, very authentic things to bring, but they showed him in a space where he was struggling with connection, which I thought was really good to show too, that it's not always just, okay, here's the medium, here's the information. It doesn't always work that way, which kind of really is it's so honest, to be honest. And I love that, because maybe you're going to a medium and you're not really sure, and even though you get referrals and you feel pretty optimistic, you never know what that soul's communication is for you, and if they're ready to speak to you, or how that looks, or where their vibration is. Where's your vibration? Maybe you're just not meeting, and we walk around the world always with different vibrational spaces, and so not everybody can see everybody, not everybody can connect with everybody. And so I also like The Signs from the Dead, was one of the episodes. Seeing the Dead, which I almost finished, and I did complete Reincarnation, which was an excellent one, especially if you're in spirit baby communication. You're probably very fascinated by past life stuff, which is, past lives definitely do come up with any kind of connection and communication, and it's beautiful to just be receiving and opening of it and see how to resonate with that. But I love the data and the facts around it, because I did have Carol Bowman in 2017 at my Spirit Baby Summit that I hosted. She is a very well-known, amazing woman who worked with reincarnation studies and past life. And, years ago, I don't know what she's up to now, but she was doing the work one-on-one and just taking people into these deep places to kind of just release phobias and issues in their current life. And I really like in that reincarnation part, it's really cool because you get to see them, not just the children, because children are so matter-of-fact what they see and know, but you get to see how they're older, like teenagers or like adults. Like, that's the piece I'm really curious about. And it's interesting how this documentary provoked so much curiosity within my own consciousness. And the mediumship, or the signs from the dead, right? It kind of brings me back into this piece of work that I am cultivating now in my dream space, right? Is somatic psychology meets mediumship meets ritual. Not just for a spirit baby, but for all people, but even in the death of a child. What are the signs? How does that work? And it's so incredible, because there is a story in there, I won't give too much away, about a story of a child. And, the parents felt like, how do we communicate? What does this feel like? And it makes me really excited on one level to further bring in this piece of mediumship therapy. I mean, that's what it really comes down to, is that seeing your natural connection. And when you have your own experience, it's profound. And I know many may be tuning in that have experienced stillbirth. We'll go into the really bigger depths, right? Stillbirth and infancy loss. And what I mean by infancy loss, is having your child here for moments, maybe weeks, maybe a month or two, sometimes years, and then they die. Whether it's an infection, a mystery, medical neglect, these things happen. And then what do you do with that? Your child, who you had in your arms, so present, so there, is gone. And how then does that relationship translate over, that they're not in physical body? And how do you handle the grief? What do you do with that grief? What do you do with that connection? And I do feel like Surviving Death, again, it's on Netflix, offers something to people. It offers something to expand into. And even if you're on a spirit baby journey and you're in active conception or curious conception, we'll say, these things that are being offered to us to look at open us up to other possibilities, other realms of consciousness. And a part of me wants to message the writer or producer, is there anything on babies? What about this before soul connection? What does that look like? And what are people saying about it? Imagine that. What are people saying? And I do know birth psychology and other major areas that study and practice that connection of sentient beings probably are more active around that. But wouldn't that be amazing to see that from a Netflix perspective? I did have somebody years ago reach out to me to do a documentary on something of a similar topic, but I never heard back. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it wasn't the right energy or time. But it makes me curious. Can you imagine how about conscious conception in the spirit baby realms? I don't know. Seeing that information and that connection and how that continues to gift us, to give us something to sit with, to be with. And I do want to share, now I believe it's coming in February 2021. I would say Valentine's weekend, there is going to be a communication shop called Eternal Communication. And really the energy is for women and couples, men, whoever, who are dealing with a stillbirth, who are dealing with infancy loss, specifically very later stages of loss, and working with communication, working with messages and signs and symbols. In those messages, signs, and symbol spaces, just getting a different awareness and building up your own inner mediumistic abilities. And everybody has different abilities, but it's not unattainable. It's not so far off. And if you are somebody in that space that is questioning that, it's going to be a 3-hour workshop, which is something I haven't ever done in quite, I don't know, have I ever done that? I've got to think about that. But it's very, to me, there's a lot of great and it's affordable and energy into the collaboration of people together. There's something about connecting in groups, as I've noticed in the past months especially with video, right, with Zoom, we get to see each other. But in my healing circle and love circle, which has both different levels of infancy death, and coming together and really sharing the story, sharing where things are. And of course, we love the oracle cards and the spirit baby oracle cards and all these energies of like, what are we putting in? How are we connecting? And of course, sometimes I can't help when the babies talk to me in these kind of workshops or spaces. So I'm giving tools to others to then be able to utilize. And I do feel like that's what it's about. And I want to share a little bit of a dreaminess, which I don't know if I've shared before or not. It's in the Afterlife of Spirit Baby group, where there was a point, probably maybe a year or two ago, where I was doing sessions more for stillbirth loss and infancy loss, but maybe not looking for conception, maybe sometimes looking for conception, but really wanting more of a message from their child. And my work is very different. I offer that in more of the packages, but I really feel like it's not really always about me getting the message. What does that really mean? I feel like, it's beautiful, it's helpful, and information is great, but I want people to walk away with knowing their own self-discovery. How then do you access that? How do you open to that and receive that? And so that's a lot of I feel like the afterlife of spirit energy that I'm really creating. And so, I was so thrilled, really, when this docu-series came out and I was told to watch it. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like amazing. And I'm hoping that those that are really in struggle or not in struggle of looking at their connection with their child of light and questioning things, that there is something happening. There's a bigger connection. There's a bigger, we'll use the word purpose. It doesn't mean it's not going to leave you feeling many different feelings. We'll just put that lightly, but we know it's so much more than that. And so your inner medium is always very active. It's available. And so whether you're kind of moving in between spirit baby communication and conception or dealing with multiple losses, which we know can be quite common, and working with, with your baby's energies all the time in different ways. And that arrives like so uniquely for you. As I said earlier, signs, symbols, telepathic messages, feelings and sensations, sitting with baby, seeing what that connection is wanting for you. And I always tell people, there's different ways to do it. And of course, babies will share their magical formulas for each individual parent and how they share things. That's what I was going to say earlier, was just talking about, and I kind of felt like I went off. When I used to do more deeper reading work with the babies, they'd share their world with me. And one particular boy showed me how he lives in a world of rainbows, he said. And it was like so beautiful. And I was like, gosh, I wish I could translate what I see and know and sense and feel to other people. But this is why my realization is people need to have their own experience and connection. And you will, and you can. And if you don't, come and email me, because there's something else happening there at spiritbabymedium@gmail.com, me or my assistant, because I feel like there is something for you. There is something there. It's not coincidental, accidental, or just luck or imagination, in the negative imagination, the fantasy imagination, we'll say, because there's something more happening. And we can't deny that there's something powerful, especially now in 2021, right? This is where we feel like we're all being knocked around a little bit. But isn't it like we're like a crystal, and we're being tumbled in a little crystal machine, and we're just becoming more, maybe it feels like it hurts a little bit, but maybe this old stuff, we're becoming more refined, we're becoming more crystalline, and we get to kind of move into whatever our own self-discovery is, and how to bring that together in community. And I know right now there's so much he said, she said, my side, your side. And what I see when I see all that happen is our inner children are just crying all the time. And there's so much time to do the work now, right? I mean, there really is, because things are kind of quiet and low, and everybody knows where their connection is and purpose. And as I say, is babies do want to connect with you. They do want to either be born, or they want to continue the guardian, or be the guide to your energy and your connection. And only you can move into that next space of inner self-discovery. And I want to promote you to do that. I want you to find your inner mystic, your inner communication with Spirit Baby, wherever you are in that journey. And there is a lot of energy that does begin with death. And so don't let that word terrify you if you're in conception and you're going, wait a second, how does then life equal death? We have both, we need both, and they cannot be separate from each other. And that reminds me, maybe I'll read you a poem. Oh boy, should I read my poem, my words? So I attended a really beautiful memorial from somebody that was really well known in the birth psychology field, and it was I had tears. It was pretty emotional to see the family, but there was almost 1,000 people, I was told, showed up. We couldn't see anybody, but we all held the space for each other. It was really for the infant. I felt like it was for the infancy and the parenting energy, because that was this community. And so afterwards, during it, I actually drew a picture of a baby with growing green leaves and flowers. And I'm very visual. I have to draw things. That's how I got through graduate school. It's quite funny to see my notes. It's all pictures. I'm not a good note taker, because I had a lot of learning problems per education. It was just me. But so I wrote a poem, and I felt very inspired through this very grieving, very powerful day of this man who really just changed the lives and babies, changed the lives of babies between worlds in so many different ways. And so here is my poem, and I'll leave you with this. Hello, death. You are never, ever far from me. I can't pretend you don't exist, but sometimes I forget that you are the reason I live. What is left after death? Is the loss, the emptiness, and the internal expansion. The heartache can feel destructive and beyond repair, but in that pain survives a new sense of power, presence, and feeling. When a human is ready to go or die, then we must honor that human's work continues in the unseen realms of the life after life, not to be held by fear and misinterpretations of the loss and grief. All sides of life and death belong together to receive, to be held, and to be bonded with. Thank you, death, for true purpose. Thank you for joining episode 105, Mediumship Therapy with Kelly, Spirit Baby Communication Before Life and After Life. If you like my podcast, please subscribe and leave reviews. Thank you for joining. And please check out my book. It's for pregnancy and conception. It is called Sacred Communication, a Spirit Baby Journal, with beautiful colors, words of inspiration, prompting questions, and space to write, as well as Spirit Baby Oracle cards, answers from Spirit Baby, to do more connection with your baby, and those cards are for pregnancy, for conception, and even for birth loss. Thank you again so much for joining.
This is Spirit Baby Radio. Thank you for joining Kelly in the energy of awareness, love, healing, and soul communication. Please join the next episode at www.soulbabycommunication.com.